Hi, it's John Vu, and in this lesson we're going to go through Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses from Trinity Rock and Pop Drums Grade 3. So if you look at the sheet music, you've got the song title, the start of the piece, you've got technical focus written above the title. Okay, so this is the technical focus piece. Beneath that, you can see we've got intro in a box, just letting you know the first section we're going to be playing is the intro. Underneath that, we've got the genre or style, and it's rocks. This is a rock piece. And then we've got the tempo next to that. So it says a quarter note equals 122. So you've got 122 quarter note beats in a minute, okay, per minute. And then it says 2 bars counted in brackets. That's letting you know when you play at the backing track, you've got 2 bars of counting before the track starts. Okay, so beneath that, you've got the first bar of music. We've got the time signature there. So we're in 4/4. We've got 4 at the top, letting you know there's 4 beats in the bar. 4 at the bottom lets you know those beats are quarter notes. So we've got 4 quarter note beats in the bar. And then in that first bar, we've got a multi-bar rest. So you've got the number 8 there. So we're resting for 8 bars. So we're not playing anything for 8 bars. Beneath the bar, it says guitar in brackets. So this is the iconic guitar riff playing there. Okay, so we're just resting for those first 8 bars. And we'll hear the guitar in those 8 bars. And then we come in at bar 9. So after 8 bars of rest, we come in at bar 9 with a crash and bass drum. Okay, so a nice big crash. So you can see we've got the letter F underneath the bar there, short for forte, which means loud. So a nice big crash. If you've got 2 crashes, it's nice to hit both at the same time, just to really accentuate that one. Then we've got a quarter note rest on 2, quarter note rest on 3, 8th note rest on 4, and then we've got 3 16th note triplets on the and of 4. Okay, so I play them left, right, left, and they're on the ride bell. So you got left, right, left, 16 note triplets on the and of 4. Okay, so you got foot and da on the end of 4. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 and da. Okay, so really hit those 3 8th note triplets starting on that and of 4. Okay, so that bar is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then you've got just a ride bell on the 1 of the next bar. Okay, so we just hit that for a half note, and then you've got a half note rest. So you're just hitting that 1. So that 1 links up with the 3 previous 16th note triplets. So you got left, right, left on the and of 4 in the previous bar. Then you hit the 1 with the right hand at the start of the next bar. Okay, so putting those 2 bars together, bars 9 and 10, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so hitting that 1, and then you play the exact same thing for the next 2 bars and also the next 2 bars. Okay, so just crashing on the 1, 16 note triplets on the and of 4, and then hitting that half note on the 1. Okay, so you've got 2 bars there played 3 times, and then we come into bar 15. Okay, you crash again on the 1, bar 15, and then we've got floor tom and snare drum in unison, and we're playing 8th notes. Okay, so you've got 2 and 3 and 4, and bass drum just plays the downbeat. So the bass drum's playing 1, 2, 3, 4. So that bar 15 is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so hands playing 8th notes, bass drum playing quarter notes from the 2 that is, and then we go into the next bar, which is bar 16. We carry on with that, so 8th notes on floor and snare drum, bass drum on downbeats. For the first 2 beats, you got 1 and 2 and, then we hit the 3. Okay, then we've got a bass drum on the and of 3 on its own, flam on the snare drum on 4, and then we've got a bass drum on the and of 4. Okay, so that final bar of the intro, bar 16, is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you can hit a left or right flam on the 4th beat. So that's putting the 2 bars together. So those 2 bars, bars 15 and 16, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you want to get that down first, make sure you can physically play it, and then we're going to put the dynamics in. So beneath bar 15, you can see on the second beat it says sub P. So remember, sub is short for subito, which means suddenly. P is short for piano, which means soft. So you're going to suddenly drop to soft. So obviously you've been at forte, you've been at loud, then we drop to soft on that start of that second beat, and then we've got a crescendo. So we crescendo through those 2 bars, and you can see at the end of the crescendo at the flam, you're at forte. So you want to creep up from piano to forte through these 2 bars. Okay, so let's try bars 15 and 16 with the dynamics now. So with the crescendo, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you're still hitting that crash at the start of bar 15 at forte. You drop to piano, subito P at the second beat, okay, where you hit that floor tom, snare drum and bass drum in unison. Okay, then you build up to that flam at forte again. Okay, so really build the energy, which is going to bring you into the verse at the start of the next line. Okay, so let's try the whole intro now. Okay, so we're going to go through those first 2 lines, put it together. And now we'll try the intro with the backing track. So remember, you've got 2 bars of counting. So you'll hear 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you'll hear 8 bars of guitar. Okay, so you just rest for 8 bars, and then you come in at bar 9. Big crash, and then you've got your ride bells, okay, on those 16-note triplets from the and of 4 into the 1 of the next bar, and then you do that 3 times. Then another big crash, suddenly drop to soft, and then build it up. Flam kick to finish that intro, okay? And you can see at the end of line 2, you've got a double bar line there that you know it's the we're going to have a musical change, okay? So let's try it now in time with a backing track. And then we come into the verse at line 3, which is the bar 17. So you can see we've got a verse there written in a box, just letting you know we're onto a new section of the song. And you can see we've got a start repeat sign there. So you need to take note of that, because you know you're going to come back to that start repeat sign. And in the first bar of the verse, bar 17, we've got an 8th note groove. So we've got 8th notes on the cymbal, crash on 1, rest of the 8th notes on the hi-hat. Okay, and the bass and snare drum rhythm, we've got a quarter note on the bass drum on 1, snare drum for an 8th note on 2, bass drum for an 8th note on the and of 2, bass drum for a quarter note on 3, snare drum for an 8th note on the 4, and then we've got a bass drum for an 8th note on the and of 4. Okay, so if we just take out that crash and play it on the hi-hat, the groove is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so get the groove down, and so remember the crash just accentuates the start of the groove. Okay, so you can take it out, just get the groove down first of all. Okay, and then you can put the crash in when you're playing it like as part of the verse, like in context. And then for the rest of that line, you've got 3 1-bar repeats. You're going to repeat that groove in bar 17 3 times. So you're going to play it 4 times in total. So you can see you've got the number 4 in brackets above the 4th bar of the verse. Okay, so that's there because you've repeated that groove. It's easy to lose count of how many times you played it. So if you'll naturally feel the 4th time you play it. So when you feel that 4th bar of the groove, you can look at the sheet music, see the number 4 there, and know exactly where you are. All right, so that's just there to help you keep track of the repeats. Then we come down into the next line at bar 21. You've got the same groove there, and you've got 2 more 1-bar repeats. And then you come into the final bar of line 4, which is bar 24. You've got hi-hat and bass drum for an 8th note. Then you've got crash and snare drum together. So you hold the crash for a dotted quarter note on the end of 1. Play the snare drum for an 8th note. Then you've got 2 bass drums for 8th notes on the 2 and the end of 2. Crash and snare drum together. So the crash is a quarter note, snare drum's an eighth note. Then you've got an eighth note on the bass drum on the end of 3 on its own, and then a crash and snare drum together on the 4. Okay, so that the rhythm of that bar is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, so you got hi-hat and bass, and then you're onto the crash. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And if you've got 2 crashes, again, you can move it about a bit. So you can play the first crash here, then come over here for the second crash, then go back for the third crash. Or you can go here for 2 crashes, come over to here for the third crash. However you want, you can mix it up. So if we do that, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so move that about if you can. So that comes at the end of the 4th line. Then after that line, we come into lines 5 and 6, where we're playing the same thing we did in lines 3 and 4. Okay, so we're crashing in with that groove. We've got 3 1-bar repeats. So remember, with the 1-bar repeats, you don't want to repeat the crash on the 1 as well, okay? That crash is just accentuating the start of the groove. So for the 1-bar repeats, you just play all the cymbals on the hi-hat. Then, like I said, we come into bar 6, where we've got the same thing that we had in bar 4, in line 4, sorry. Okay, so that's, you can see at the end of line 6, we've got the double bar line, let you know there's a musical change because we come to the end of the section, which is the verse. So we're going to try the whole verse now, okay, putting it together, crashing on that 1 of the first bar, repeating the groove 3 times, then coming into the same groove in the next line, repeating for another 2 bars, and then we've got that change up on the crashes, okay? And then we do it all again for lines 5 and 6. So let's try the whole verse now. So now we'll try the verse with a backing track. Okay, so keep that nice solid groove, and on those change up bars in bars 24 and 32 where we hit those crashes, just make sure you're not rushing, okay? Make sure you're hitting the crashes at the right point because they really kind of line up well with the track. Alright, so let's try the verse with a backing track. And now we come into the final line of page 1. You can see we've got chorus there written in the box, let you know we're on the chorus now. So we crash into another groove and we're on the ride cymbal now, okay? So we'll get the groove down without the crashes first. So we'll just play all the 8th notes on the ride cymbal. Bass drum and snare drum pattern, we've got bass drum for 1 for a quarter note, snare drum on 2 for an 8th note, bass drum on the end of 2 for an 8th note, then we've got 8th note rest on 3, bass drum for an 8th note on the end of 3, snare drum for a quarter note on 4. Okay, so we've got 8th notes on the ride cymbal, so that groove would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so get the groove down first, and then we're going to crash on the 1 and the and of 2. So they both crash with the bass drum. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so get up to that crash on the end of 2 and make sure you come down on back to the ride on the 3. And again, if you've got 2 crashes, you can crash here on the first crash, over on the second crash on the end of 2. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, and then you've got a 1-bar repeat, so you play that again, and then you've got another 2 bars there at bars 35 and 36. So we keep the 8th notes on the ride cymbal, crash at the start of bar 35, Okay, and then we play the 2 bars. So the bass and snare drum rhythm, we've got a quarter note on the 1 on the bass drum, snare drum for an 8th note on 2, bass drum for an 8th note at the end of 2, bass drum on a quarter note on the 3, snare drum for an 8th note on the 4, bass drum for an 8th note on the end of 4. Then we come into the next bar where we've got a bass drum for a quarter note on 1, snare drum for an 8th note on 2, bass drum for an 8th note on the end of 2, bass drum for a quarter note on 3, and then a snare drum for a quarter note on 4. So the 2 bars are very similar. You just got that bass drum on the end of 4 in the first of those 2 bars, and then you haven't got it on the end of 4 in the second bar. Okay, so those 2 bars, bars 35 and 36 are 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then we come into the next line of the chorus at the start of page 2, where we've got the same first 2 bars of that line that we played in the previous line, and then we got another 2 bars in bars 39 and 40. So very similar to what we played before. So the first of those 2 bars is the same as what we had in the previous line, and then we change it up in the last bar, okay, where we finish with a double hit on the crash and snare drum for the and 4. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's at the end of that line, at the end of the first line of page 2. So if we try those final 2 bars of that line, so bars 39 and 40, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see we've got a double bar line at the end of that line, let you know we come to the end of a musical section. Okay, so that's the end of the chorus. We're going to put the whole chorus together now, those 2 lines. So we're going to play the bottom line of page 1, the top line of page 2, so bars 33 to bar 40. Okay, so let's try those two lines now. And now we'll try the chorus in time with the backing track. Okay, so again, keep the groove nice and solid. It's really easy to rush in this song, okay, because there's so much energy in it. So make sure you keep a nice, consistent tempo and make sure you're really accurate with those crashes, okay? So you don't want to be missing the points. You want to be hitting right where they need to go, those crashes, because they're going to really support the track again, okay? So they're going to really line up with some important points in the chorus. Okay, so be accurate with those. So let's try the chorus in time with a backing track. So into the next line, so the second line of page 2, you can see we've got in the box there, it says Interlude. So we're onto another section of a song, and we got volta brackets above this line with the number 1 there. So this is the first ending. So remember we saw that start repeat, okay? This is the first ending of that repeated section. Okay, so we've got a groove there, start the interlude, which is the same groove we played in the verse, but now we're playing it on the ride cymbal. Okay, then you've got 3 1-bar repeats for the first line of the interlude, so you're playing that groove 4 times. You can see the number 4 there again written there, just to make sure you keep track of those repeats. We've got a crash on the first bar, the 1 of the first bar, and remember when we repeat the bar, we don't repeat the crash on the 1. Okay, then we come into the next line of the interlude, line 3 of page 2, and we've got 3 more 1-bar repeats, so we're playing that groove for another 3 bars, and then we've got that crash, that crashed rhythm that we had in the verse again, but obviously the first note is on the ride cymbal because the groove's been on the ride. Okay, so let's try the whole of the interlude now, those 2 lines, so lines 2 and 3 of page 2, crashing into that verse groove, that familiar groove we've already played, but we're on the ride cymbal now, and we've got that same crash change up that we had in the verse as well. Okay, so let's try the whole of the interlude. at the end of the interlude, you can see we got an end repeat sign. So now we go back to the start repeat sign, which was at the start of the verse. Okay, we play through the verse again, the chorus again, and at the end of the chorus, we skip past ending 1, which was the interlude, and then we go to ending 2, which is the guitar solo on the 4th line of page 2. Okay, you can see we've got guitar solo written in the box there, and above the guitar solo you can see the volta brackets again with the number 2 there, letting you know it's the second ending. Okay, so the guitar solo, we've got 8 bars there over 2 lines, and we got slash notation. Okay, that means we can improvise, but above the first bar of the guitar solo it says 8 bars of time. So we just need to play time for these 8 bars, just a nice steady groove. Okay, remember it's the guitar solo section, so the guitar is playing the solo and we're just supporting that solo. Okay, so just keep time for the 8 bars. At the end of the 8-bar guitar solo, you can see we've got a double bar line, let you know it's the end of the section. So we come to the end of the guitar solo there. And then we come into the next line where we got breakdown written in the box. So we're at the breakdown now, where everything kind of strips back, okay, comes down in energy. Okay, we got another 8th note groove, the first bar of the breakdown, which is bar 49. Okay, so we've got 8th notes on the hi-hat. We've got a bass drum on the 1 for a quarter note. We've got a cross stick on the 2 for an 8th note. Bass drum for an 8th note on the end of 2. Then we've got a quarter note rest and then a quarter note on the cross stick on 4. Okay, so that groove at bar 49 is 1, 2, 3, 4. And beneath the bar you can see it says MP, which means short for mezzo piano, which means half soft. Okay, so you're going to drop the energy down, play it half soft. Then we got 2 1-bar repeats. You're going to play that groove for another 2 bars. And then in the next bar, we change it up a bit more. So we've got 8th notes on the hi-hat again. We've got an 8th note rest on the 1 on the bass drum. Then we've got 8th note on the bass drum on the end of 1. Cross stick on 2 again for an 8th note. Bass drum for an 8th note on the end of 2. Quarter note bass drum on the 3. And then we got cross stick and bass drum together for a quarter note on the 4. So that bar, which is bar 52, at the end of the first line of the breakdown, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Then into the second line of the breakdown. So for the first bar there, you're playing the same thing that we played in the first bar of the previous line. And we got a 1-bar repeat, so we play that groove again. And then we come into bar 55, where we're keeping those 8th notes on the hi-hat. And now we've got a quarter note on the bass drum on 1, cross stick for an 8th note on 2, bass drum for an 8th note at the end of 2, and then we got a half note rest for 3 and 4. So a really empty second half of the bar there. So that bar 55, is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then the last bar of that line is the same as the last bar of the previous line. So now we're going to put those 2 lines together, the first 2 lines of the breakdown. So bars 49 to 56. Then into the next line, so at bar 57, so we're changing it up again. We've got 8th notes on the hi-hat up to the end of 3. So we've got 1 and 2 and 3, and we've got a bass drum for a dotted quarter note on the 1, bass drum for an 8th note on the upbeat of 2, so the end of 2, quarter note rest on 3, and then we got a quarter note flam on the 4, okay? And above the flam, you can see we got an accent, so you need to hit it with more force, more emphasis, so it really stands out. You can play a left flam or right flam there. Okay, and beneath the bar you can see it says MF, which is short for mezzo forte, half loud. So we're bringing the energy back up again. Okay, so for that bar, bar 57, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we got 2 1-bar repeats. We play that bar another 2 times, and then in the final bar of that line, we've got 8th notes on the hi-hat. We're opening the hi-hat on the and of 3, closing it on the 4. So the right hand is playing 1, 2, 3, 4. And we just got a bass drum for a quarter note on the 1. So we got a quarter note rest on 2 on the bass drum, and then a half note rest from 3 and 4. So we're just playing a bass on 1. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, then we come into the final line of the piece. So in the first bar of the final line, we're playing the same thing that we played in the first bar of the previous line. We've got another 2-1 bar repeats. So we play that another 2 times. And then we come into a bar of flammed quarter note triplets. So we got a flam on the snare drum on the first quarter note triplet, flam on the snare drum again for the next quarter note triplet. Then we're up to the small tom, cross to the medium tom for 2 quarter note triplets, and then we're down to the floor tom for the final quarter note triplet. Okay, so you've got 3 notes spread over 2 beats. Okay, so that's what quarter note triplets are. So you're playing 6 notes over the whole bar there, spread evenly over the whole bar. So da 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 da. So that's your half beat pulse. Da 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 da. So we've got flam, right flam, left flam on snare, right flam on the high tom, left flam, right flam on medium tom, and then left flam on the floor tom. Okay, so that bar we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so try and alternate those flams, and beneath the bar you can see we've got F there, which is short for forte. So we need to play that bar loud, and then we finish the final bar with a crash and bass drum together. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the piece. So what we're going to try now is those 2 lines, so bars 57 to the end of the piece, so the final 2 lines of the piece. So now we'll try the whole breakdown, okay? So the final 4 lines of the piece. So for the first 2 lines of the breakdown, we're at mezzo piano. So we bring the energy down, we're on the cross stick. And then for the final 2 lines of the piece, we bring the energy back up a bit to mezzo forte, and we're back on the snare drum, okay? So we're not playing the cross sticks in the final 2 lines of the piece. Finishing with that big fill forte, and then crash and bass drum to finish the piece. Okay, so let's try the whole breakdown. And now we'll try the breakdown in time with a backing track. Where do we go now? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go now? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go now? Where do we go? So now we're going to go through the whole piece. So you've got an 8-bar rest at the start of the piece where the guitar plays. Then we're in with the intro, into the verse. We play through the verse, play through the chorus. Then we come into the interlude. When we hit the end of the interlude, we come back to the start repeat at the start of the verse. So we play through the verse again, the chorus again. Then when we get to the end of the chorus, we jump to ending 2, which is the guitar solo. Play through the guitar solo, then we're into the breakdown. Okay, so just make sure you can follow the structure of the song. So let's try the whole piece now. And now we'll try the whole piece in time with the music. Okay, so remember you got that 2-bar counting. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8-bar rest where the guitar plays. And we just want to make sure we're really complementing the music, keeping solid grooves when we need to keep solid grooves, changing up those crashes, okay, making sure they're really accurate to support the track. And then we've got those changes in energy as well. So we've got guitar solo section where we just keep solid time, and we've also got the breakdown where we come down in dynamic to mezzo piano, and then we build back up to a nice big finish on the flam, the quarter note triplet flam fill. Okay, so let's try playing it with the music. Really have fun with these because this is a great track. So make sure you practice the parts at a comfortable tempo for you. So bring the tempo down wherever it needs to be. As you get comfortable with the parts, that's where you want to increase the tempo, okay, till you get to that song tempo, which is 122 beats per minute. So it's a fast song, there's a lot of energy in the song, okay, so spend some time making sure that the parts are sounding good, make sure you're feeling good, then it will sound good, okay. So take as much time as you need, build up and have fun. We'll see you in the next lesson.